In this episode of the Advisory Deck, we're going to talk about butchers, bakers and candlestick makers, small boutique businesses, corner stores, row shops that don't enjoy scale advantages or being part of a franchise network, who have to compete with competitors small and large, where they sit in 2020 and what the fundamentals for their success beyond the year ahead, how they're going to differentiate themselves successfully might lie. We hope it's an enjoyable and interesting conversation. We think it's particularly suited to obviously the owners and leaders of these businesses and the advisors that sit in their corners. Enjoy. Hi, welcome back to the Advisory Deck. I'm Troy Forrest from Strategy Road, and I'm joined here by James McGill from Chatham Capital Exchange. Morning, James.
Hey, Troy.
So we come together and put these little 15 to 20 minute conversations out, designed for business leaders and business owners to help them try and improve how they're approaching business, to riff on a few topics we think are of interest and might add some value, and when we need to, throw to some domain experts who can give you some deeper counsel on this. We like living life a little on the edge, so we've created what's called the Advisory Deck, a deck of cards, and occasionally we just like to pull one at random and absolutely sweat bullets for a couple of minutes as we try and figure out how the hell we're going to talk about this. So I'm going to challenge James. This is completely not a marked deck, and this is absolutely random. Pick one, probably 7.
Coming out.
Yeah, there you go. What do we got?
You got something you've made up, and I'll let you explain what it is.
Okay, companies, butchers, bakers and candlestick makers, small boutique businesses. That's back to the front on that, isn't it? But trust us when I say that's what it is. So the thinking here is, what are these organisations that don't enjoy the benefits of scale, that don't have a global franchise that they're part of, who are in 2020 sitting out there in the strip row of shops on the street corner, who don't necessarily have the ambitions or indeed the ability to dominate the world and have 47 branches open there. How do they survive? How do they navigate 2020? What kind of future do we see for these kind of organisations? What's going to sort the wheat from the chaff? What's going to underpin success? And maybe a couple of traps for young players that we've observed. So where we spend time quite often, with boards and large organisations or fast-growing SMEs, these are not necessarily those. These might be the multi-generational local butcher shop. So that's kind of what the topic's sort of about. So as I riff on that, what starts to come to your mind?
The first thing is I haven't seen too many candlestick makers around the suburbs, so it might be too late for them. Bakers and butchers, maybe there's time for them still. What I find interesting is, you touched on it before, is that if you are a butcher, a baker, a veggie shop, whatever it might be, the very thing that you can do is what Coles and Woolies and other big companies, no matter what the industry, can't. Right? And what they can't do is be human. What they can't do is make decisions across the counter. What they can't do normally is have people walk in who've been walking in for 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years with family members that used to come in when they were this big, and now they're whatever big. So I think your business model, we talk about business models being how do you operate, how do you make money, what's your point of difference, and that should normally fit on a page. There's no reason why your own business, no matter who it is, shouldn't have a business model that fits on a page that spells out what you do, and it's going to look quite different to the large companies, because your point of difference and your strengths are really different to the large companies. And so a couple of things like that you don't need to spend a lot of money on this. One is, hopefully if you're in business, and it's amazing how often you find people who are in business who actually don't like customers, and I think their view would be, if only I could run my business without customers, it would be a much better place, right? So let's hope that you're in business because you want to be in business. And I think especially the ones that I think it's really tough one. Our local shopping centre has got a Woolies where we are, and across in the shopping centre, there's a butcher. There's a veggie shop that I think is gone now. There's a couple of others that are trying to compete with Woolworths, and I think part of it then is what's your location. It's one thing about attracting traffic, foot traffic. It's another about, in a tough economic time, if you're selling the same kind of product at a similar price to Woolies, you're probably going to struggle. So you've got to think about where your locations are. But that personal relationship. Right? I've been going to the same butcher for our good quality meats. If it's for our family, if it's friends coming over, we might go to the local supermarket, right? But if we're going
bulk pack of snacks,
exactly. There's a few reasons why we go there, and I've been going there. Apart from we lived in Sydney and lived in some different locations since I would have been at primary school. So my mum used to take me there after school. You get the piece of Fritz across there. Fritz, and we're in South Australia, right? So Fritz.
Have sawdust on the floor?
Probably wouldn't be that hygienic anymore, would it?
No.
But it was partly it's the personal relationship. You walk in, and even people I walk in there now, I don't know them. They're still friendly. And within a second, you've walked in, and they're acknowledging you, and you can see they're busy. And there's only I think 6 allowed in the store now because we're in COVID times. But they acknowledge you, and you're not going to be waiting very long.
No.
But they're friendly. The service is quick. The quality of food is much better than you get at the larger stores. It's convenient. Coles and Woolworths and other supermarkets struggle to compete with that. Right? But if I was getting poor service and I wasn't getting good quality, I wouldn't go there. So I think you've got to figure out how do you compete on a level that you can compete on that large companies can't. I think that's a big thing. Following on from that, just because you're small doesn't mean you can't act like the big guys. And I think especially when we come to social media and website and so forth, there's no reason why you can't look to build a following, build engagement and respond and reply to people in a way that the bigger stores would. I think there's still a battle for your dollar. So if I've got a great butcher shop 2 kilometres from home, there might be another one 3 kilometres the other way. So why am I going to keep coming back to you? Well, maybe it's because I'm, in my mind, this butcher shop is front of mind. Why? Because they appear on my social media feeds, or I get an email newsletter from them. So I think it's one thing to say it's about our relationship and it's about the quality of this when you walk in the door, the quality of that service. That's important. But I think you've also got to then act like a corporate business in a way of saying, I'll keep on reminding my clients that I'm there, and I'll do that in a range of ways. And I don't need to spend a fortune to do that. But I can't sit back and just expect people are going to keep on coming to me because I've been here for 30 years. That is not going to be successful.
No, and I mean, we've got the methods to do that today that are, really free and easy. And I think about some of the challenges that a small, corner store in a row of shops, we're talking physical bricks and mortar here, but it equally applies to a small online store, a little side hustle of making candles, of I'm a little tattoo parlour maybe. There are umpteen competitors out there, right? And my value proposition or my offering is not necessarily super distinct to the untrained eye to what I could get in the Coles or Woolies, or what I could get from one that's just down the way from me. So
I'm working on something here, by the way. I'm not texting.
No, that's all right. I'm used to being ignored while I talk. I have 3 people at home that do that to me. Shout out to my darling family. So you think about, what is it about me, my little local corner record store? That's been there for 30 years, and they've survived technological challenges. What is it that they're doing that's a little bit different? And I think your point here is my observation as well. Be really clear about who you're for. I'm not going to enjoy scale advantages. I'm not going to enjoy a completely unique market sector all by myself with few competitors. My customers do have lots of choices. So I need it to, it's almost like the origin of Starbucks, right? The third place. I want to be that place that they just love coming to. And I'm going to double down, triple down, quadruple down and go super deep with those people and stay in touch and loyal. Again, farmers markets are one. I think we're at this really interesting moment in history when we're seeing the renaissance of of things like farmers markets. Once a week they pop up, and there are 47 different vegetable providers at that farmers market, but that one there, the quality of their produce is really good, but it's pretty good across the board there. The physical location is really no different to any of the others. They don't have scale advantages either, but me, you, that relationship, the care, the thought that I'm putting into it. There's a great fruit shop just near where I live. I'll give them a shout out, Banana Boys in Mitcham in Adelaide. Literally within 10 metres is the entrance to Woolworths, and the fruit and veg is fine in Woolworths, right? But these guys continue to survive as an independent because, again, the experience. Back to this concept of customer experience. You know, it feels good. There's something about it that feels good to me going
that
in
local thing as well, isn't it? A relationship.
It is, and it's a pleasure, and there's beaming smiles and happy people. Used to be a wonderful baker around the area called Cozzy. He had this amazing, you know, it doesn't matter how busy he was, he was sweating bullets, he's serving pasties and pies, but hi, how are you? Great to see you. So simple, but so rarely done.
Where I was going, I'll show you, shout out my local chicken shop. See, Funkies on Doothie Street, and they have they might have other social media, Instagram, and they don't have a lot of followers. I think they're relatively new to it. But I remember them because I'm not a huge social media user, but every few weeks I'll see something pop up, and it's good quality, and they're local, and it's easy, and I quite like supporting local, and I think there is this resurgence towards shopping locally, eating locally, avoiding fruit that's been sitting in a warehouse for 3 months, and having known that the dollars stay in your local economy. And so the reminder for me about Funkies is often through social media, because there are probably 4 or 5 chicken shops within, if I get in my car and drive, whether I'm driving 1 kilometre or 3, doesn't really matter a great deal. It's a small shop. It is fresh chicken. It is great salads. I know it's good quality. And so I keep going there. And they are busy, but they do social media, and it probably costs them nothing because they're taking a photo of their own product. They've probably got someone in there who's figured out how to do a post, and they'll slowly grow it. And they're not trying to have 50,000 followers. That's not what they're about. No. They're trying to be in their local area, in their catchment of, they're in Unley, the few thousand people that might come to them. They just want to remind them. They're not expecting someone to drive from Norwood, all of 5 kilometres away, to come to them. That's not what they're after. If they do, fantastic. So I think knowing who their audience is and figuring out the best thing they can do is be friendly, be fast, be efficient, and have good food. But then it doesn't mean you ignore something like some social media. And we spoke on this show a few weeks ago about wine, and one of the topics about wine was, to me, the opportunity in wine is that when you buy a bottle and consume that bottle, the winery has no idea who you are as a consumer. Right? So you can't get that engagement piece. And I think there's a massive opportunity there for a lot of companies who aren't necessarily standing there at the cellar door selling. If you're a winery and you're selling through your cellar door and you don't know who you're selling to, fix that. Find out who that person is, because if they don't come back to you, you've lost that as a customer. Easy to fix. This is a similar sort of thing. If you have a chicken shop, pizza shop, find a way very easily to get that person onto your database, so you can keep in touch with them.
Seth Godin talks about this all the time. You just need 1,000 loyal fans, right? It's for a small boutique enterprise like this. You're not looking for Woolworths as customer. So what is it going to do to take and curate? And I think that's a really important word. You've got to curate that client cohort. What do they love? And be really thoughtful about your personality. It's your strategic advantage. You can have a personality as a business in the way that the big multinationals and big box chains kind of can't. They have one, but it's generic. It's like their sort of scale. You can have something really entirely different to that. Let's throw over to someone who might have some deeper thoughts on how these smaller boutique enterprises are going to survive and thrive through 2020 and beyond. What, in your experience, differentiates those successful, sustainably successful, smaller boutique type businesses?
Well, there's a lot of things, but over the time, I've come to believe that, and I learnt this from the tourist industry, that if you can deliver service above expectation, that is, if the experience someone has exceeds their expectation, then you're highly likely to get a recommendation. And so lots and lots of small and medium enterprises thrive on recommendation. So as a primary statement, I would say, always try to exceed expectation, and that's going to lead to a recommendation. I've fallen back a number of times with a number of businesses on a group of three words: quality, value for money, and service. Quality meaning make sure that your product or the products you're distributing are of a high standard, so that they'll stand the scrutiny of others. Value for money doesn't mean they have to be the cheapest, but they have to represent great value, so that people can quickly see that by paying a little more, they got a lot more. Value for money. And then building that service proposition around that, so that by building extraordinary service, you'll often then fall into our first conversation, you'll exceed expectation. So quality, value for money, and service, working towards the delivery of that exceeds expectation, then you'll get recommendation, and that will help to build all business.
James, takeouts on if I'm sort of sitting there running my little local tattoo parlour or my fruit and veg shop or my funky chicken shop, and I'm thinking about, I'm worrying about, it's tough, it's challenging, people aren't spending as much, the big guys in town, they're gonna, they're a threat. What should I be thinking about?
You can't be lazy, you can't be complacent. You must offer great service, which costs nothing. You must offer good quality product and at the right price point, which is challenging, but you've got to figure out how to do that. You must offer your personality. Right? You must be different, you must be welcoming, because that's what it's really hard for bigger companies to do. They've got high turnover of staff and they've got people who are casuals who aren't necessarily engaged. So I think that relationship is really, really critical. But then also find out what else you can do, often for free, around your marketing, engaging with your customers, getting their names on a database. Even if your email once a month is as simple as, we've got a great special on X. It doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to be expensive and time consuming, but don't let those customers who are coming in walk away without knowing who they are. And then if you've got 500 customers coming in now, as Troy just said about the 1,000, then you've got an opportunity to leverage those 500 to get to 1,000. And again, that might be a very simple discount offer, it might be a 2-for-1, or whatever it might be in your store. But there are lots of opportunities, low-hanging fruit, where you don't have to spend a fortune and you don't need to spend $10,000 a month on a marketing agency. Low-hanging fruit is often there, and it might take an hour or two to plan it with a couple of experts, and it might just help you to step from here to there. And that might be the difference between being an okay business and being one that's actually now starting to give you a bit of a return that means you can have a lifestyle that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. It's not an easy thing to run a lot of these businesses, right? The demands are challenging. But, treat me like a local as a customer. Be conscious of the personality and curate an honest, personality that reflects the kind of folk that you want to have in that. It's something that is really hard for large organisations to do and do well. And curate and nurture that kind of customer cohort as well. We've got some free and readily accessible tools to do that in our smartphones now. And to James's point, get a couple of people in and have a conversation and some deep thinking on it. So we would love to be those people, of course. So please feel free to reach out to us. Contact details down the bottom. Come and sit on the advisory deck, or heck, we'll come and sit in your chicken shop. If you keep the drumsticks a rolling, we'll be there with bells on.
Beautiful.
James, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Troy.
Pleasure as always. Thanks for joining us on the advisory deck.